Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Nerdmageddon Smackdown, a debate show where I gather two people together in order to have a debate about some pop culture, nerdy stuff like that. I think it's going to be a good time. This week I have Drew.
Hello, it's me.
And Austin.
Hello.
All right. So we'll have three topics today. We've determined what you guys are choosing earlier by way of a coin toss. Austin is going first, and the first topic for this week is the best Spider-Man villain in celebration of the Spider-Man No Way Home poster that just got released with a lot of different villains being teased on that poster. So, Austin, whenever you're ready, go ahead and tell us who it is. Smack that button.
This one?
Yep.
All right.
And then go ahead.
I got to say it's Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2 with the Sam Raimi trilogy. They have the best fight scenes. That train scene, you can't deny. That is just awesome action. Definitely the best movie in the trilogy. And like I said, I think that has to do with Doc Ock being the main villain. And yeah, he did such a good job playing that role that they brought him back for Spider-Man No Way Home. So I got to say, at least the directors are on my side with why he's such a great villain. Man, I got plenty of time left to go into more detail about that train scene. So, have you seen it, Drew?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So you would say that it's a good scene, right?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. That's underrated. It's the greatest scene in the Sam Raimi trilogy and my favorite scene in any Spider-Man movie so far. I don't really need this extra 5 seconds. Yeah.
We'll just let the time roll out real quick. And there we have it. Some really good points brought up by Austin. He went from a little bit more of a nostalgia looking back at it. I do agree that train scene's pretty freaking rad, got to admit. Good stuff. But then we got to throw it over to Drew with your selection. Whenever you're ready, go ahead, hit that button.
So, right, okay. I'm Green Goblin. I'm all for Green Goblin. He's the first of the Raimi trilogy, the villains. I mean, how can you beat Willem Dafoe saying funny stuff like his iconic line, grunting, then grabbing man's throat. Oh no, looking up, seeing glider in stomach. Other iconic moments, like when he turns those when he turns them into skeletons. It's a pretty cool set piece, right? But I do have, while the train scene isn't in the movie with Goblin, I think you can't lean on it too much. At the end of the day, Doc Ock isn't the train.
Okay, and there we go. Some points brought up there. Well, this will be the rebuttal round. So I think if you hit that green button in the center,
Yeah.
or hit it again, turn it off and turn it on.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so now we know. Turn it off, turn it on. There we go. Austin, we'll give you a chance to rebut some of Drew's points that he just made and possibly bring up some more. And then, Drew, you'll get another minute to rebut those points, and then we'll throw it over to our judge. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and hit that button.
Alrighty. The one point you made about the skeletons, I'd say that scene is a little cliche. It's a little too comic booky for my taste. The reason I find Doc Ock so interesting is because it's based in science. Like, this one man made these tentacles, these robotic arms that could help him, or in that case, hurt him, and made his mental state, a little crazy. But what great villain isn't a little bit crazy? I'll even give that to your Green Goblin. He did go a little bit crazy. But yeah, just a little bit on your side. A fact you didn't bring up that I was surprised was that the Green Goblin's coming back in No Way Home. So that is something that I will have to stand on your side a little bit, halfway there, halfway on my side. But the Green Goblin is also coming back with Doc Ock that we know of, with some other characters for Spider-Man No Way Home. So yeah. But yeah, Doc Ock is not the train. I know that.
All right, and there we have it. We'll take one more minute for Drew to rebut those points.
Okay.
All right.
So if you would have waited for my turn, I would have brought up the No Way Home appearance. I was saving it as a rebuttal, but you've kind of stolen my thunder. So
maybe on purpose.
It's just a view into his character there. So also, Green Goblin and Doc Ock both made something, used it, went crazy. That's pretty much identical to each other. So I'd like to argue that steroids or whatever the Green Goblin uses make more sense to making him go crazy. So I think he's more grounded in a reality. Like, he's using drugs. He used drugs. Doc Ock had metal arms on his back, and it made him angry. I feel like they dumbed it down for the movies because back then they were like, people can't handle comic book stuff. All
right, and there we have it. Some strong points brought up. Just a little bit of clarification for those. I'm pretty sure it was a drug that made the Goblin serum or whatever made Green Goblin go insane. And then Doc Ock, if you don't remember, those arms, he controls them because he's got that microchip, that exposed microchip on the back of his neck.
Which is a flaw,
which is a flaw, and then it gets broken. He's like, as long as I don't turn and face the mini sun I've created, it'll be fine. And then he immediately turns around and it fries the chip and he goes insane. So, he's a genius. He built those arms. He also built a miniature sun, but maybe put the microchip not exposed on the back,
spot, maybe.
Exposed on the back of your neck.
He's got a video game boss weakness point
he
on his back.
He's
literally lit up.
It literally is. But those were some great points. We're going to throw it over to our judge, Courtney, for the ruling for this first round.
All right, guys. You both brought up some fantastic points. I think that both of these villains are very similar, and I think that this is a really hard decision to choose who is the best, because it's like, which is better, hamburgers or hot dogs? Like, they're both equally great. I will say I believe that Drew was a little less opinion-based, although, Austin, I really loved your passion, so I'm going to have to give this round to Drew.
And there we have it. Drew coming in with a round 1 win. We'll go to round 2, see what happens. Round 2 this is a fun round. Nothing related to anything going on in the world. The best Cartoon Network show. We've already touched on the best Nickelodeon show, so we might as well throw it over to the other big channel from our childhoods. And then Drew, since Austin went first, Drew, you can go first with your selection whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Go ahead, hit that button.
So I picked regular show because I'm gonna link back to the SpongeBob argument of you don't need to see all of them, right? So like, it's just weird, like crazy plot lines. None of it makes sense. It's interesting. It's funny. They start with like, oh, we're playing rock, paper, scissors, and now we're fighting God. That jump there is where the comedy comes from, and I think nothing's really done that as good. So I got to say that I think they really mastered that aspect of it. I do believe it has ended, though. So, and I believe they had a actual ending to it. I think it kind of concluded a nice little bow. They tied everything, all the plot lines. There wasn't really any plot lines until like the last episode, but they all tied it up. It was cool, funny.
And there we have it. Great points brought up about regular show in this first round. We'll throw it over to Austin for his selection. Whenever he's ready, go ahead and hit that button.
All right, here we go. One thing I would like to say, I'm Team Adventure Time. And a point you made was really good, but something that I disagree with was you don't have to see each episode. Adventure Time, you don't have to see each episode, but you're rewarded if you do with this amazing plot line that continues from season to season to season. Great characters, great character depth. I would say each character has a background that you learn more and more as you watch the show. So you're rewarded, like I said, by following along, by watching in order, although you don't have to because each one has its own adventure for Adventure Time. The main two characters, Jake the dog and Finn the human, they're best buds, man and dog. What more can you ask for in a show? Classic. But yeah, a little less classic. Jake the dog is stretchy and has magic powers. So in this land of ooh, you go on crazy adventures, and it's just a really fun time.
Those were great points brought up about Adventure Time. I happen to love both of these shows very, very dearly. But then we'll throw it back to Drew for his rebuttal, or whenever we flip it on, turn it back on again. All right, whenever you're ready to go, Drew.
Okay. So I want to address a point you made about being rewarded for watching all of it, or watching more, or not just like one out of nowhere. And that's the character, like you get more insight of the characters. That does happen in regular show. I can give an example. For like the entire series, Skips is this guy who just walks around and skips. And one episode gives him the entire backstory as to why he walks around and skips. Or walked around. He actually used to be named Walks. And then it turns out there was a tragedy that, I'm not going to spoil it, but a tragedy that now he skips everywhere and his name's changed to Skips. And that deepening, that character development is also seen in regular shows. So it's not exclusive to Adventure Time. So I can say that is an aspect of both shows, I would argue.
All right. And there we go. More good points brought up by Drew.
Very good points.
Yeah.
I do have to admit, very good points. Well, let me try. One good thing I do have to say that you said, Drew, was that episode where that tragedy occurs. It has some of the best music, though. Forever Young. What a great song. But anyway, more on Adventure Time. The ending and the conclusion to that show, like I said, I keep going back to that rewarding part about watching it all. But it's true, if you watch it all and that ending is so satisfying because you have all the characters there. It leads up, it's like a 4-episode arc finale. And yeah, it's just, you see these characters grow from the beginning to the end, just like their voice actors did. Their voice actors, they stayed with the same ones through the entire series. So you can hear it in Finn's voice and in Jake's voice, a little bit less because he's a grown man, but Finn is a boy when he starts and he grows into this young adult. And you see that in the show and it's reflected in the voice actor. So I think that's really cool.
And we'll let the time roll out real quick. All right, there we go. I think these were some fantastic. Well, I genuinely think this might be one of the best rounds of this show we've ever had. Really good points brought up on both sides. Clearly, the passion's there. But we'll throw it over to We'll throw it over to Courtney for her decision.
All right. So I have to say I agree with you, Ben. Both of you brought up fantastic points. I might be a little biased because I am in love with the fact that Adventure Time, we watched it as kids, and as Finn got older, Jeremy Shada, who voiced Finn, as he got older, like hit puberty, we hear how he goes from this tiny little boy to like a full-grown man, and it's reflective of the characters in the show as well. And not only that, but they've expanded the universe with the new show. And so I would have to say, if it were my choice, I would definitely go with Adventure Time. But because both of you guys brought such good points, I think I'm going to give this a tie.
Oh,
okay.
Look at that. Okay. So, in the interest of making things fun for this show, we're going to say it's 1-1 going into round 3. So, I mean, it is a tie. So, Drew, basically, round 1 didn't happen. So, sorry about that, buddy. But you did a good job. Those were some good points. In spirit. But for our final round, another fun round. Since we've got producer of Gen 2, Austin Claypool, KNWT's gaming show, I figured we'd have a fun gaming-related question. So we're going to have the type of gaming, which sounds like a very strange question, but when you hear the sides that our two contestants are coming from, you'll kind of understand a little bit more. Austin, you can start with what you chose as your type of gaming whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, I chose mine as VR gaming because it's the future. I mean, this is what we've been working towards, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a little bit biased because Project Delta this semester has all been VR based, but I really do think it's the future of gaming. The level of immersion that you get, even with playing that against a really wide curved monitor to fill in your peripheral visions, it's still not the same level that VR can give you. Especially with 3D sound design like they're getting to now, even wider lenses, so it fills even more of your view. They're getting into now haptic feedback gloves and everything. So it really is the future. We're going to get to a point where it's hard to tell what the difference is between the real world and VR. And I think that's crazy that we've come that far in science, but let alone just for entertainment purposes and gaming. So, yeah.
All right. We'll let the time run out here real quick. Good points brought up with Austin about VR being the future. I happen to agree that VR is the future of gaming, but we'll look at Drew, and whenever he taps that button, he can give us his thoughts.
So there's one thing I do need to agree with, and that is that VR gaming is the future. But as we all know, we are not in the future. We're in the now. And the now revolves around screens. And that being screens you look at sitting in a chair with a controller, mouse, keyboard, etc. And while the idea of VR gaming is interesting and is a untapped thing, arguably, I do like to think that for this current gaming climate, classic controller and looking at a screen is the way to go. Right now, VR is gimmicky. The games are often shallow, and the things you do are simple. Very few games are exploring worlds or doing a lot of advanced things. If they are, they're just ports, like Skyrim VR, Fallout VR, and most recently, Resident Evil 4 VR.
Very good points brought up by Drew about classic gaming and kind of bringing down some of the VR. We're bringing down VR a couple pegs, but we'll give Austin a chance to rebut whenever he's ready.
Oh boy, that might take me a few seconds. That was pretty good. So the biggest thing I have to rebuttal against you, Drew, is you said screens. We're looking at screens, but inside of the VR headset is screens. And these screens, hold up, these screens are getting closer and closer to the same screens performance-wise that we can get on regular just computer monitors. The new headsets can do 144 hertz refresh rate, and that is what standard gaming monitors are. They're 144. Maybe as of right now, yeah, the quality isn't the same. People aren't pushing 4K 144 hertz headsets anytime in the next couple of years, maybe, but it's still, we're still getting into that high resolution, or not high resolution, high frame rate, gaming. So they're practically identical. It just has to do with inputs and the controllers and stuff like that. But yeah, they're some more similar than you think.
All right, and there we go. And Drew, whenever you're ready, go ahead and rebut that.
So VR is cool in theory, but it can also be scary. An example of that being Facebook's venture into what they like to call the metaverse. And I fear a reality that a corporate overlord controls my reality, my second Earth. And it is a slope that I wish not to slide down. For my gaming, I would like to stick it to its own isolated environment. I like knowing that there's the screen, there's the controller. I'm doing things that appear on the screen. I don't want that blend between realities. I feel that is not going to benefit me in the future. It may be good later on, but right now, I think it's not something I want to dabble with.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I agree. That's bringing the mood down a little bit with thinking about the corporate overlords, but I mean, it's a fair point. It's an entirely fair point about VR. But who cares what I think about these things? I'm just here to move things along at a nice, quick pace and to look cute. But we're going to throw it over to our judge, Courtney, for the final decision.
All right. So I have to say VR is one of the greatest inventions that could even happen for gaming. And I agree 100%. It is the future. It definitely provides such a unique experience. But not everyone wants that experience, just as Drew was saying. Some people don't necessarily need to be fully immersed into the world of VR and what they're playing. It's also a lot harder to disconnect from what you're playing. Whereas, playing PC, mobile, on a handheld device, you can essentially take it virtually anywhere. Whereas VR, you have the clunky headset, the headphones, you have to bring all this stuff everywhere with you. So I would say that, classic gaming is the most universal, and I'm going to have to give that point to Drew.
And there we go. Drew with his first Smackdown win. Look at that. Look at that. I thank you both for coming today. I thank Courtney for being our judge in there. Thank you, Courtney. I think this was super fun. Some good points brought up all around about all the different topics that we discussed today. And as always, you nerded here first.